Sun is shining again. It's an absolutely lovely day. It's a Saturday and I've got time to do this. And yesterday there was a real good bit of happenstance. You can see here I've got my my roll of chicken wire. I've got some cat litter as well, but I'll talk a bit more about cat litter later, or maybe even in another video. But this finally turned up, and really good bit of luck this was. Let's just poke it out the car a minute. Excuse the wobbly phone. All right. And yeah, oh, that's lovely. That's in really good nick. Yeah, wonderful, quite well packaged. And I'm really grateful to Sally at World of Wire, which is an eBay shop that I ordered this from, because I ordered it, oh, let me see, about 2 weeks ago, and it was coming by TNT, and unfortunately TNT have been hit by this massive virus, and most of their deliveries were affected one way or the other in the UK, and they still haven't quite sorted it out yet. But luckily Sally was on the case, and she sent me another roll out by Parcel Force. I didn't actually realise it was going to come yesterday. It's my fault for not checking the tracking number. And as I was taking the car down to get fixed, I just happened to see this Parcel Force van coming the other way, and the driver stopped, and I sort of looked at him, and he looked at me, and I got out and said, "Oh, you've got a roll of chicken wire there by any chance?" He said, yeah, and here it is. So I would have missed it but for that. Right, I'm going to prop the phone up somewhere and see if I can actually get a video of unwrapping the thing, because it's great stuff this, and it's going to allow me to finish the pheasant run over there, which the pheasants can't be in at the moment because it's only half finished, but we'll get something done about that later on. Here we are, nice sunny spot next to the cherry tree thing. I'll show you. It is a cherry tree rather than a cherry tree thing. It's just that I got it from a garden centre, and it's one of those kind of probably heavily genetically manipulated trees. I don't know why really I've got it, because I don't trust things like that, but they reckon it's a natural selection jobber, and I don't know. Would a big company with millions of pounds on the stock market lie? Yeah, I should think they would. Anyway, quite well packaged this. The last one came in a box, right, but it really needed to come in a box because it was a 30-metre roll, and I had a fair bit of trouble trying to get it out of the box even, actually. But it was just too heavy. I had no idea how heavy 30 metres of this was going to be, because in the past I've always used galvanised chicken wire, which looks thicker stuff than this to me. This is welded mesh. Good size for an aviary, actually. I don't know what, can't imagine any little birds could get out of here. Only the tiniest of mice could get through this hole, sort of voles when they're babies, and chickens aren't at all threatened by them. They can eat them. I don't know if they would eat them, but there's certainly no harm there. So this doesn't need to be in a box anyway, because it's much heavier stuff than the chicken wire, but this is only 10 metres of it. I've got a smaller amount because it'll be much easier to handle. I had trouble with a 30-metre roll. I didn't really have anywhere big, sort of flat, smooth area and I could lay it out on. I still haven't. I'll just turn that over. And so I couldn't do that with a 30-metre roll. It was just way too heavy to pick up and turn over. And as I get around to putting this stuff on the frame, on the pheasant run, I will explain a bit more about that. Okay, so there it is. Pop it down on the ground. It comes, they've sort of wired the ends on. I'll just get the camera and show you that a bit more closely. Okay, yeah, it comes like this, and it's like a coiled spring. As soon as we get these wires off, see there, it's trying to come away, it's going to spring open, and you get that with any roll of wire. That happened with the chicken wire too, but this is very vigorous, and it shot about 10 yards across the garden and ripped half the cherry tree down last time. But I'm working on the idea that as there's only a third of the wire here that there was in the last roll, there's only going to be a third of the spring tension. Perhaps that's wishful thinking. before I go any further with this, I'm going to align it, because another problem I had with the 30-metre roll was I couldn't just turn it from one side to the other. And if I'm going along and the fence is on this side of it, like that, and so the fence post is behind it now, where my hand is, then you can just sort of unroll the roll along, pull it tight, get it to the next post, nail it on. Not a problem. But if you're doing that the other way around, you've got to sort of pull this open, nail it on, and then roll it from the inside. It's just really, really hard to do that. And if you've got a 30-metre roll, I would suggest have two people to help with that, because it's just so heavy and it's so springy, it gets out of control really easy. Okay, right, I'll just turn the camera off, do a bit more, and then we'll start putting it on the pheasant run. Yeah, that's got the wire off. It's all down at one end now. It's a mixture of 2-inch mesh, which just wasn't big enough, and squirrels and things could get through it and pinch the food. And there's a net over the top as well, because these pheasants came along at a time when there was a scare about bird flu, avian flu. And at that time I had to keep the chickens completely penned, because they do wander sometimes and they enjoy the fresh veg that's growing in the garden for them. They can't wander too much while I'm growing it, because then they enjoy my fresh veg as well. But yeah, I had to keep the chickens in, and I had to put this net thing, you can see the green net on that perhaps, and that green net sealed it off at the top so things couldn't get in. But I'm happy to say the pheasants go flying. I haven't seen them to be able to make a video yet, but I will eventually. They come back, not absolutely every day, but they keep coming back, which is wonderful, because they're wild birds, and you can't really become the owner of a wild animal. You can only sort of help them along the way, look after them a bit. Even the chickens there, it's very domestic animals really, but they're doing their own thing, and I'm sort of suitably suspicious of human beings and anyone who might do anything really. Anyway, yeah, I digress. So I've got the wire off this side. Perhaps a bit dark down there to make it out, but there's a sort of trench where the edge of the wire was buried. I'm going to clear that out some more actually before we put the new wire on, but it shouldn't take long. So this lot's got new wire already, it just ends there because I ran out of the roll. And there's a bit over that side as well behind the mesh, just where I was measuring it. So it's time for a sort out, I think.